Hi there, Lee Thurburn, with another episode of Live Stream Lee. Thank you for joining us today. Today we're going to be interviewing Susan Stageman, who you're going to really enjoy this interview because she is a hoot to talk to, and she's got a lot of experience that she's going to share with us. But before we get to that, I want to make sure that you know you are invited to connect up to us by going to livestreamlee.com and clicking on the Join My Community link. When you join the Livestream League community, some wonderful things happen. You get taller, you get better looking, and you live longer. Well, actually, none of that necessarily happens, though we think all of it will. But what does happen is you get an account on Apricot Rocket, which is a digital marketing platform, which has a lot of benefits that can help you grow your company faster and make more money. Now, that's what this live stream Lee episode and this program in general is all about, is helping you grow your business faster so you can retire sooner, make more money, have more time with your family, work less, all that kind of stuff, all that good stuff. When you join the live stream Lee community, not only do you get an account on Apricot Rocket, we're going to ask you to profile your business and tell us about the services that you offer. And we're going to try to send you some customers. That's through our leads process and program. You also get access to all the documents and spreadsheets and things that we talk about here on the program. So a lot of that stuff can actually be very helpful in helping you to grow your business. Now, with all that said, we're going to talk to Susan Stageman. And I'm going to bring Susan in right now as soon as I click on a couple of things. And we're going to add her to the stream. Susan, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Well, I can indeed. Thank you so much. I know just a minute ago we were having a little technical issues, but we got those resolved. Thank you for making time to join me today. I appreciate that so much.
You are most welcome.
So, Susan, let's start off with you. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people that understand what NLP is, but there's probably as many, if not more, that don't. Why don't you tell us what NLP is and what you do, and then I'm going to ask you how you got to here.
Okay. So neurolinguistic programming is a model of excellence in communication and learning behavior. And it is processes and methodology for helping you change your communication in order to be understood and for you to understand someone else. So it is superb communication skills, but it also allows us to change what goes on between our ears in sometimes a fairly rapid fashion so that we can get what we want. And there's so many facets of NLP. It's came out of studying what highly effective people do in learning communication and behavior. And so it is originally was designed for us to model excellence, to help understand what goes on in someone's mind that helps them produce excellence in whatever endeavor that they want. So they study experts, basically, because they do things that other people don't do. So that's NLP. And what I do with that is I train people in the methodology so that they can learn those communication skills and make those changes. And I coach people. And sometimes it's a combination of the two, training and coaching. So that's what I do, 32 years.
So give me a couple of examples of some people that would benefit from this. I'm thinking salespeople, maybe sales managers, but, give me a few examples of some people that we typically get a lot of benefit out of this.
So obviously salespeople, most of my business is entrepreneurs and small business owners, because they, generally speaking, have funds that they can use to pay for my services or training. And they also want the edge. They're usually driver personalities that have a lot of energy and they just want the edge. They want the edge on their competition. I have in the past had a lot of salespeople, and and they certainly benefit, but the bulk of my business tends to be entrepreneurial. They just oftentimes have much freer thinkers. They're much more interested into alternate ways of doing things, and they also have more discretionary income.
So, we're all born into different things. We grow up in different environments, and of course, you didn't come out of the, out of the womb and out of your childhood going, I want to be an NLP trainer.
No.
How did you find this as a profession, and what attracted you to it?
So, gosh, I moved to Texas in 1985, and immediately my second husband wanted a divorce.
Oh.
And so it was that was a watershed, because my first husband did the same thing. He moved me to a different part of the country and then said, oh, by the way, I don't want to be with you anymore. And for the first time in my life, I thought, maybe it's me, because I was starting, we get to a certain age, Lee, and we start to see the patterns repeat in our life. And so I was starting to see patterns repeat in my life, and I didn't want them. And I had always been a seeker, reading of self-help books, trying to understand myself better, trying to understand other people better. And so somebody told me, go and take this class. And I said, well, what is it? And they said, well, it's NLP. And I said, well, what is that? And they just said, go take it, Susan, you need it. But I had also started a business. I had gone from working in a large company, large corporation, actually in middle management. And I wanted to strike out on my own. And I was thoroughly not prepared for that. And I went into sales. Well, guess what? You have to have you have to be able to do certain things in sales, ask for money, make calls. And I just couldn't make myself do that. And that's why somebody said, well, so I had these two things going on, career-wise and personally. And a friend of mine said, go and take this. And I was hooked from the very beginning. I learned in that first class, people are different, because I thought people, a lot of times we think people are the same, and they're not. They're very different in how they understand communication, how they store it, how they retrieve it, how they use it. And it helped me define the differences that people need in order to understand me and for me to understand them. So that's how I got started. And halfway through my first practitioner course, I said, gosh, I got to do this for a living. So that's basically how I got into it. Made a lot of changes for myself, and I wanted to be part of that for other people.
So when people study neuro-linguistic programming, are there any sort of common aha moments that they have, regarding, is there any sort of standard response to it where they reach a certain kind of aha moment, or is it different for each person?
It's very different for each person, because, even though we have sometimes similar motivations for spending the kind of time and money that it takes to learn NLP, most of us, we all come with different past personal histories, beliefs, cultures, sometimes backgrounds, race, even religions. So oftentimes, what people get out of it are very different. And those aha moments can be extremely different. And I don't know, I was talking to a client yesterday, one of my coaching clients, and I mentioned he was having this ongoing situation, and I mentioned a different way of looking at it. And I didn't say, oh, this is a different way of looking at it. All I said was, well, maybe. And he said, wow, I've never thought of it that way. And that that was like a huge moment for him. And it was just me looking at it from the outside, which is great. You know, that's what coaches do oftentimes, is they're like standing outside the situation, looking at a different point of view. It can be very powerful for people, because even with myself, I see things only from looking out my eyes and my body, and I don't always see things like other people see them. So,
you know, I've heard that, and I don't really know much about hypnosis, but I do know that there are some people that are much more susceptible to hypnosis than others. And some people, in fact, I've heard, can't be hypnotized, though I don't know if that's a true statement or not. But is NLP similar in the sense that some people get more benefit out of it than others? What are are there some people that, don't benefit, or is it something that anybody can universally benefit, or is the benefit, largely determined by sort of the effort, which is probably true. Most things, you get out of them what you put in them. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay. So, yes, people get different things out of it. How do I explain this? I personally think that if a person has the desire to change, that I can help them with the what to, how to. And so those three elements have to be there for someone to make a change. They have to have a desire. And sometimes it has to be a strong, committed desire, because sometimes the pain of change, sometimes people consider not worth
right
what it's going to cost them. So that's one thing. So the what to, how to, and the desire to have to be there. And that can be in anyone. I generally find that people that are attracted to me and what I do, because even in, just like there are different therapists, there are different lawyers, there are different attorneys, that we have, we all attract a certain clientele. I tend to attract people who want to make a difference in themselves or a difference in the world. And so they either want to transform themselves, or they want to transform people in their world. And so transformation is a big part of that. Not everybody is interested in that part of NLP. And so I tend to attract people that want the communication and that transformational change. So let's see, there was something else I wanted to say. Tell me what else
well, the question was along the lines of, is there anybody that's sort of immune or resistant?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing about NLP. Anybody has to be open to change. Anybody has to be open to change. It's just like anything else, Lee. There are certain people that resonate with this, and certain people that go, wow, that's a bunch of, psychobabble. I don't want to have any interest in that. Doesn't mean it won't work for them, but I generally find they're not interested. Why would it work for them? I mean, NLP is outcome based, and that's where it kind of jumps off and is a little bit different than a lot of problem-based therapies and change methodologies. So what happens is, people don't have an outcome. If they're satisfied with their life, why would they're not interested in NLP. NLP says that I am here, I want to be here. How do I get there? And people that are, how do I get there? They're usually not interested. So interest has a lot of things. And I do, so does it work or not work? Well, here's the thing about NLP communication. We all do NLP. We all do NLP. All NLP is, neuro-linguistic programming, is how our language affects our nervous system. If you speak, you're influencing yourself and other people around you. You cannot not do it. What NLP teaches us is how to do it effectively.
Right.
And that's the difference. And the thing about hypnosis, because I do teach Ericksonian hypnosis, which is a little bit different, hypnotherapy, which is a little bit different than hypnotism. And that is, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. People don't, I don't do NLP on people. I am
Right.
NLP. I teach people how to be NLP, how to be those skills, not do the skills. See, to me, when you're doing it on someone, it makes us almost confrontational and adversarial. I don't do that on people. I facilitate change in them, and that's the change that they want, not the change I think is going to be good for them. And if the change they want is ecological and it meets the conditions of what an outcome is defined as being achievable, that's what my job is. My job isn't to get people to do what I want them to do. That's not what this is about. And I think a lot of people got that confused. Just same with hypnosis, that it is everybody, if you want to be in a trance, you can go into a trance. In fact, people say, well, I can't be hypnotized, but they get highway hypnosis.
Right.
They watch TV and they get
Right.
engrossed, or they get engrossed in a book. All of that, all hypnotism and NLP is having the brain drop into a lower frequency so that it can access choices and resources. That's all it is. It's not from the outside, it's from the inside. So, I think that would help people, make it more appealing to people if they really understood that.
So you are a master certified NLP trainer. Do I have that right?
That is correct.
And you have, if I'm not mistaken, you've not only taught courses on it, but you've taught other trainers.
Mm-hmm.
And is it correct in saying, I think you've written the book, right? You've written a book on training on NLP.
No, not
Okay,
really. I mean, I do have some pretty extensive manuals. They are not published,
okay.
Although I am looking into it a little bit. There are people that publish their manuals. I tend not to do that because I'm looking into it for my own students, but I tend, without the background of NLP, NLP is a process. It's not, you don't do a technique on somebody and you go, wow, this is really great. There's a whole process, a back-end process that goes into helping someone that needs to be there in order for everything to be ecological. Right. So I tend not to throw my material out there because it's too easily misunderstood and misused. I used to be very active on the LinkedIn forums for NLP, and it got really frustrating because I'd see younger people, people who had not had a lot of experience in NLP, take, a practitioner for a week and a master's for a week and maybe a trainer's training for a week, and then go out and start working on people. That I don't know. First of all, I think that is unecological because NLP is the process of it, if to get good at it and to really understand what's going on, Lee, is complex. And, going back to that, well, can anybody use it? I think people to use NLP or to be interested, have to be beyond survival. If a person doesn't know what their next meal is coming from and can't hold down a job, and, it's just with Maslow's hierarchy of right. criteria, you've got to have some success in your life for this to really mesh with and work well. Anyway, I wanted to go back and say that, but I do think that, the more education a person, I've taken several practitioners, several masters. I've taken, I've got a health certification training, certification. I've taken all kinds of, sorry about that.
No, it's all right. Yeah, no, you hear it said that to become a master at something, it's either 5,000 or 10,000 hours.
10,000, yeah. Malcolm
it's a lot of
Gladwell.
time. You can't take a couple of courses and become a master and teach somebody else. Yeah.
And I found that, some people were doing, I even heard of a fellow from one of my fellow associates who read a couple of books on NLP and went out and started training it. Well, okay, so they're training techniques, and that's what I didn't like on NLP. these people that didn't really understand what the model was and how it's a system for understanding human beings, not just a linear step-by-step process. That what happened was, they'd be saying, okay, my client has this as a problem. What technique do I use? Okay, that's not NLP, that's therapy. And I am not licensed to do therapy in the state of Texas. Does that make sense? So
Sure.
I'm very careful about that, because I think that NLP can be very powerful, and I think it needs to be used, by an expert and very judiciously. If a person's using it more than just in a coaching situation like I do. I mean, I do change work on people, and people have had some phenomenal results, but I am very careful about doing very clear information gathering, so I have a clear understanding of where they are and where they want to go.
Susan, let's switch over and talk about your business, because one of the things we like to do in this, in our, what I'm doing here is help people understand how to grow a business. So
Right.
a couple of baseline questions. You've done this now, I think, did you say 27 years? Is
No,
that what
32.
30?
Yeah, 32. Yeah.
Over the course, a long time. Over the course of 32 years, can you put a ballpark estimate on how many students or clients that you've trained? I mean, it's got to be 100. I mean, it might be 1,000, it might be 10,000. Kind of ballpark where that number would probably be.
I would suppose not 10,000. I've always defined myself as a boutique training and coaching business. I've never, ever wanted large classes, because
Gotcha.
I don't learn in that venue. I have taken them,
Okay.
with the more noted names in NLP, and you don't develop a personal relationship with the trainer. And I think that that's really important when you're learning something as important as this.
Okay.
So it's not you get what you get. No, I want to make sure that all the way along the process, you're understanding how to use this. I'm about practical application. I'm not about data. I like information, but if you can't use information, then it's worthless.
So you're not typically standing up in front of an auditorium of 1,000 people. You're typically working in smaller group settings or even one-on-one
Yes.
for what you do in a training. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And I will say this, I have stood up in front of 1,000 people or more. And when I've done talks and keynotes and things like that, but when it comes down to the training,
The real training,
learning NLP, in fact, I don't even do practitioner masters anymore, which is really traditional. I do a program called Mastery in NLP, and it's a year long, and you get the whole system. And I even deal with boundaries and system thinking and that sort of thing, because I think that NLP really helps with that, but it's oftentimes left out of a curriculum in a traditional course.
So as a professional starting a professional services business, it is often quite difficult to get a business like that off the ground.
Yes, it is.
Especially when you're not selling tacos or something like that. People, oh yeah, I want a taco, I'm hungry. They already know
it's
they
a non-tangible, right? Yeah.
Right. So talk a little bit about some of the struggles, challenges, lessons you had to learn to get your business established.
Okay. So, the first thing that I did, which I am most grateful for, is I spent time in another institute where I learned how to run. It's not so much about teaching NLP. Anybody can get good at teaching NLP. It's how to run a seminar business. See, I learned how to run a seminar business. That's why I'm still around. Because, when I first started back in the late 80s, holy cow, NLP trainers were a dime a dozen. And I just outlasted all of them, because I kept going. And, but a lot of them fell by the wayside. They just got tired of putting what I say, butts in seats. And over the years, that can just really grind a person down. So that's one thing. Some of the challenges that I've had in the past, not having committed people, putting the wrong, I wouldn't say wrong people, but people that really should have maybe been in therapy. I put in classes. Did they get a lot out of it? Sure. Did it, was it annoying? No, I wouldn't say annoying, but kind of a grating on me, because a class, when it comes together and it fits together, is just so amazing. And then you have this one person in there that really shouldn't be in there, and it kind of drags everything. So that's one thing. Making sure I got paid, making sure that people just, have the funds and are willing to commit the funds to doing it. And some people don't have the funds, but I had a person sell their car once to do my training. So they just wanted it, and they were willing to do that and use public transportation for a while. And that is commitment when you do that. I'm telling you, when people say, "Oh, I don't have the money." Yeah, you don't know what not having the money is. When I got into NLP, I had no job, no income, and no money. And I made it work. I had to borrow my first payment, from a friend of mine. And it is absolutely the best thing that I ever did. Absolutely the best thing that I ever did for myself.
Businesses fall, you can segment or classify businesses in a lot of different ways. Generally speaking, there's one way of classifying would be businesses that are built around a recurring revenue stream, and businesses that are built around a one-time, one-shot, exchange.
Yeah.
Naturally, businesses that are built around some sort of a recurring relationship, recurring revenue stream, are more predictable and more valuable.
Yeah.
How have you built your business? Do you have elements of either or both? I mean, how is your business structured from that perspective?
So mine is both. I mean, they can take smaller classes, or they can, like add-on classes, refreshers. People can repeat any of my classes for a reduced rate, and much reduced rate, actually. And I really encourage that, because going through it a couple of times makes a huge difference. I have a couple of people doing that right now, and they're going, wow, I thought I got this the first time. Yes, absolutely. Holy cow.
Gels. Okay.
Gels. Yeah.
So you've built a recurring revenue component with people that not only do you have different sort of tiers and focuses, but you have an invitation to come back at a reduced rate. So that's
yes.
So last question, we're going to run out of time, but give it a couple of minutes. What are your plans for the future? Do you do this until you ride your horse off into the sunset, or do you have, kind of what's in the future for you?
Well, now, since last year, and of course, a lot of businesses changed last year, I have been doing a lot more training online. In fact, almost all of it, except for my trainer's training. And that is a combination. People can take it in the classroom, and they can also take it I call them bots. We put them on a laptop in the training room. And so each person has their own little laptop, and they can, when they do exercises, we move them around, and it's quite unique. I can't even believe I thought of this myself. And because I'm not what you call ultra technological, but it worked really well. And so all of my other classes are virtual now, but because I have so many people now from other parts of the country, which is nice. And but my trainer's training, my art and skill of presenting, is a combo class where they can do it in the classroom, and or they can do it virtually. And so that works out really well. But so I'm going to continue to do that. I'm doing a lot more coaching with people than I did before. Things have kind of switched from, the bulk of my business being training to the bulk of my business being coaching. And that works for me at this point in my life. I pick and choose. I'm a little bit more careful about who I work with. And I want to, at this point in my life and my career, I want to be able to enjoy the people that I'm working with. Not that I didn't before, but I want to really enjoy them, and I want to make sure that they are committed and will evolve forward through the experience. And so far, that's worked pretty well. And then, my husband and I are getting ready to make some significant changes in our living situation. And we're not getting divorced, folks. We're actually.
I was going to ask, is he about to take
No,
you
we're
to
not.
the
No,
country?
we're actually, my husband and I, since we met later in life, right? He still owns a house over in Lakewood, and still keeps all of his 35 cars over there and that sort of thing. So we're getting ready to combine households after 5 years of being married and another 8 or 9 being together. So it's a little bit different when you're older, Lee. I don't know whether you experienced that or not, but it's just when you're 20, 30 years old and you get married, and you do all the things according to the book. And when you get older, you go, yeah, that book, that worked one time, but it's not going to work now. Right. So anyway, we're getting ready to do that. We're thinking about buying a smaller home up in Iowa, where I'm from and my family's from, and spend summers up there. We don't know, but I'm desperate to get back to Paris. I go through my pictures, thousands of pictures of Paris. We usually go every other year. And of course, it's been since 2018. Yep. So I'm feeling a little bit, I need
Paris deprived. Yeah.
My Parisian. Yeah. So we'd like to travel a lot more and that sort of thing. So.
Okay. Folks, we're out of time, and I want to thank Susan. I want to thank you for spending time with me today.
Well, thank you, Lee. This is delightful. Anytime, you can get somebody to talk about themselves and their business, you know how that goes.
I do. So,
good, right?
Folks, I meet with, Susan weekly, and always enjoy working with her. And I know a lot of people that have worked with Susan. The benefits they get are just astounding. If you need to up your game, if you need to improve your communication skills, you want your sales team to get better at selling. I mean, who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want a better sales team, right? Go to, and I finally remembered to turn it on. There's a little ticker down here at the bottom, NLPtrainingconcepts.com. There's your phone number, but you can Google Susan Stageman and have no trouble finding her. Go get in touch with Susan. She's a delight and an expert, and in the truest sense of the word. Susan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lee. I so appreciate it. I just have to say one quick thing that, I've been on Lee's email list for like 10,000 years, right? I don't know where I got hooked up with you. And then, when the pandemic hit and they locked us down, I kind of circled around. I thought, well, this is, this could be easy, and joined a virtual group, and it's just been wonderful. So, I know a lot of groups did go virtual, but I've been very, very impressed. I just have to do a little commercial for Lee. Very impressed with his system and the training. That's so amazing, is that this networking group I'm a member of, he trains us on things on the system, and we do mastermind section. So it's just more than a networking group, networking group. So
thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. It's a delight to have you be part of it. And I look forward to seeing you again. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Right. All right. Thank you, Lee. You bet.
Bye-bye. All right, folks. My last little plug here for joining the community. Go to livestreamlee.com and join, and then come back on. Well, tomorrow we're going to have a great. We're going to talk about marketing. So if you're able to be here tomorrow, we're going to have a great presentation about marketing. I haven't actually decided, but I kind of have decided what I'm going to do. We're going to talk about what I think of as the 30-second MBA. And it is basically, there's only 3 ways you make more money in a business. Number 1 is you get more customers to come in the door. Number 2 is you sell more to the customers that do come in. And number 3 is you cut your costs, keep your costs as low as possible. There's a guy that I had the pleasure today of listening to him speak. His name is Kent Billingsley. And I should probably turn this little placard thing off. Kent Billingsley wrote the book, Entrepreneur to Millionaire. I won't have it read by tomorrow, and it won't be over that book, but it's a great, I listened to this guy talk. It's a great book. He and I actually have the same, we're going to have him on March 7th. And on Friday of this week, I said March, I meant May 7th. And on Friday of this week, if you like history, you're going to love this guy. Dan Nelson is a genealogist. And of course, he digs into other people's pasts. And you'd be surprised at what kind of characters some people have in their ancestry. Well, that's what Dan digs up, and he's got some great stories. And so we're gonna interview Dan and hear all about genealogy and crazy ancestors. So come back and see us. And in the meantime, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.